Good morning. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Larry. Welcome. Today we're going to talk about some pleasant surprises that I found out about in retirement. Some things I kind of expected, but not to the extent of which they've come. Leave in a comment some of the things that you found out to be true that you really weren't expecting, but they're pleasant surprises. They're good things. Because when you first retire, it can be very intimidating at first. You go from a regimented structure working one day and you're off the next. And that can be very, very intimidating at first. You've got to figure out how to do things all over again. I know it's the best part about it is it's also very liberating. Once I kind of got in my groove, got in the routine, I found it to be very, very liberating. And I don't regret retiring for a minute. I actually didn't have a choice. My health was failing to the point where I could not do the work that I knew how to do. I could not do it anymore. So I retired, but it was intimidating at first, but now I'm at that point where it's very liberating. One thing I didn't expect was the time I'd have to grow some relationships. I knew I'd have more time for my friends and more time for my family, but not to the extent of which it is. I've been able to I can have coffee. I have a friend of mine, I have coffee with him at 6 o'clock in the morning sometimes at Waffle House because that's when he gets off work. Now, if I'd been working, I could never do that. I have another friend. He's a dear friend. I've known him for a long time. But over the last couple of years, I've gotten to be very good friends with him. And here recently, the last several months, I go see him every week taking coffee. And that friendship has grown. And I really value his friendship. Now, if I'd have been working, I couldn't do that. I couldn't do that. But it's so a lot of old friends you can get in touch with. But I'm finding opportunities to make new friends. There's a gentleman I'm familiar with. Go to church with him, and I've known him for months. It's not that big a thing, but I was talking to him one day, just a little bit. He's kind of a quiet kind of guy, and but he's about retirement age. He's still working, and I said something about retirement, and he kind of looked at me funny, and he says, it bothers me. I said, when are you going to retire? He said, I don't know. He says, kind of afraid to retire. I have a lot of mixed feelings about it. He said, on one hand, financially, I probably should work some, but from a physical standpoint, he's had 2 heart attacks. I think he's diabetic. And so I said, well, I'll tell you what, why don't we get together? I said, I'm flexible. We can do early morning. We can do, once you get off work, we can do a Saturday. Let's just get together and have some coffee and we can talk through some of these things. And he was really relieved. He was looking forward to it. So we're going to be doing that. So you can make some new friends in retirement. It can also be a very creative time. Trust me, you're going to have to be creative if you're retired. When I was working, running my own business, it was great. It was really great. I was creative every day. Every day I had to figure out which guys to send where, how to do this job, how to do that job. It seemed like my life revolved around I was either working or I was preparing to work or I was getting material for the next day. So if I got up in the morning, I was preparing to work. Then I worked, and then I was preparing for the next day that evening. So it was like it was always there. It was always there. I was always being creative, how to do things quickly, efficiently, and keep the production up. So I was creative all the time. But all of a sudden, once I stopped working, that creativity was gone. I mean, I didn't have to be creative about hardly anything. Um, when I started this YouTube channel, I put it off for a long time. I thought I looked at it a little bit, and I put it off for a long time. But I got that creative spark back a little bit. This is something new. This is like a foreign language to me. This is something totally new, and uh, but it got those creative juices flowing a little bit, and I'm appreciative of that. One thing also. There's less stress. We all know that, but it allows you to focus more on your health. You can focus on your diet and your exercise. When you're working, your diet can be somewhat limited. Your exercise times can be somewhat limited. I can't tell you how many people in the comments have said, since I've retired, my health has gotten better. And I think that's great because you can focus on it a little bit more because you've got the time to. I see a lot of people at the gym. You can just tell. Maybe they exercised in the past, but it's been many, many years, maybe decades since they have. And they're in there and they're trying. They're trying to get their act back together a little bit so they can have some quality of life. And it allows you to do that. Uh, Also, I've learned I get joy in the little pleasures of life that I kind of ignored before. Like that first cup of coffee in the morning, I get up really early. I'm an early riser. I get up at 4 or 5. If I sleep till 5 o'clock, it's a late morning for me. But it's usually 3 or 4 o'clock. And I get up and I'm not rushed. I don't have to be anywhere. I don't have to get anything ready to go to work. And I just really enjoy that little joy. Don't have to rush through any activities generally. I get time. I make a lot of my videos, not a lot, but at least some videos down by the river in a local park. And I really enjoy that. I enjoy before and after I make my videos, I just sit there and watch the river. It's very calming, very peaceful. Now that school's in session, there's hardly any people around, and I really enjoy that time. I don't have to be rushed. The little pleasures in life. Now, if you want to travel, you have a lot of flexibility in traveling. We're not taking any long vacations anymore, at least not outside the country. We may inside the country, um, but we do a lot of day trips. I like to do more. We've got a couple planned, a couple that my wife doesn't even know about. She knows about two of them, I think. But we do day trips. We don't have to go on a Saturday or Sunday when it's crowded. We can go during the week, and that's the part I like about it. It's unrushed. It's a little simple pleasure, a little simple joy that we get to go. You can do off season if you are going to vacation and take some real vacations. You can do that during the off season. But this is really the biggest joy I've got out of it is it's a chance to recreate yourself. Now, when I got out of college, I had double major in finance and general business, and I couldn't find a job, so I worked at Generous Motors for 10 years until they closed the plant down. After that, I beat around to two or three or four jobs and never could find my niche, and was kind of a lost puppy there for a few years. I'm glad my wife stuck with me and was patient with me. I eventually started my own business, and that worked out real well. So, but after I lost my job at Generous Motors, I had to reinvent myself. What do I want to do? What do I want to be? And then once I started my business, I had to reinvent myself again because it changed. I had it down, had the routine down, and then all of a sudden my business grew, and I had to reinvent myself again. How am I going to take care of all these new customers? How am I going to get all this work done? And it really it was creative. I had to reinvent myself several times, and I'm sure most of you have reinvented yourself a few times over your life. But the main thing, the biggest pleasure, and I'll end with this, is the attitude of gratitude. We are so blessed. I am so blessed. If you have a roof over your head, if you know where your next meal is coming from, if you have clean clothes on and you know where the next change of clothes is coming from, and you have clean water, you are the top 10% of wealthy people in the world. Not in the United States, but in the world. And that just really focuses. We had a problem with our TV reception and cable, and it was a nightmare for a couple of days there. Kind of drove me crazy. Now, 5 years ago, I probably would have flipped out over it and said a few words I shouldn't have said. But this time it's like this is a first world problem. We can do without TV. That's not a problem. But I've developed an attitude of gratitude, and I think we all should in some degree. That's all I've got for now. If you got anything out of this, like, share, subscribe. Until we meet again, I'm going to press on towards that goal.